Welcome to a series called The End of Times, where we're going through the book of Revelation, verse by verse, to see what it is we can expect to happen in the end times. And as we've gone through this incredible book, this is episode 190-something, and we're going through the 12 foundations, and each one of them has meaning, and it's important that we understand, well, why is each one of these 12 foundations made of what they're made of? So we're just going to pick it up there. Now, I'd like to add real quick before we get going, is that, once the earth was decreated and heaven was decreated and this new earth and this new Jerusalem came about, I just felt like God called me to just do this outside by a lake in the morning time. It's a little rainy. We'll see how we do here. God told me to come out here, so we'll do it in the rain. So be it. So we'll pick it up there where we left off, Revelation 21, starting in verse 19. And the foundations of the wall of the city were adorned with all kinds of precious stones. The first foundation was jasper, the second sapphire, and the third chalcedony, the fourth emerald, the fifth sardonyx, sixth sardius, and the seventh chrysolite. So we're going to focus on that seventh one, the chrysolite. Now, chrysolite's a tough one because if you look at the very next one, the eighth is beryl. Typically, when you're looking at precious stones in the Bible, you have to be careful of what they're talking. Oftentimes, they'll just throw the word ruby in there when they don't know what it is. And so you really got to be careful, because oftentimes when you see the word chrysolite in the Old Testament, it's really referring to beryl. And they're clearly two different things, because the seventh is chrysolite and the eighth is beryl. So you have to separate those two things. So where people will throw in chrysolite is in Daniel, when the messenger shows up in Daniel 10, in verse 6, they say, oh, it's like chrysolite. But that's really beryl, because that word is catharsis. So really where we see the word chrysolite, but it really should be beryl, is in Daniel 10:6, where it says catharsis. And that's a beryl. But beryl and chrysolite are very similar looking stones. They're both greenish stones. Where you see also is beryl, or sometimes chrysolite, is in the chest plate of the priest in Exodus 28:20. But that's definitely beryl. That is tarsus. What you have is tarsus. We're looking at Hebrew. You got tarsus, beryl, catharsis. Some sort of beryl as well. It's just a different use of the word. But the place that you'll find chrysolite most accurately used is in the Song of Solomon's, where it's batarsis. Because again, beryl and chrysolite are very similar in nature. Now here in my version, it uses the word beryl in Song of Solomon 5:14. The King James Version will put chrysolite there, and I think that is more accurate, because again, tarsus is beryl, and catharsis is another form of beryl, most would argue. Batarsis is definitely not beryl. That's going to be something totally different. And the King James Version put it as chrysolite, and I think that's just more accurately placed here. It's the only place you could see something like chrysolite in the Old Testament that's not beryl, because again, anytime somebody puts in that word chrysolite, it's probably beryl, so you got to be careful of that, and obviously those are two different things. So here in Song of Solomon, this is very significant, because what he's talking about is it's a song of the beloved. It's really, it applies to somebody that you love. But here, these are all capital H's. So he's talking about God, and most likely Jesus Christ, how much that love is for you. And it's really quite beautiful. So we're going to go to Song of Solomon 5, verse 14. His hands are rods of gold with chrysolite. His body is carved ivory, inlaid with sapphires. Legs are pillars of marble, set in base of fine gold. So I believe what we're looking at here is it's really the arms. It's these loving arms of God. And it kind of really makes me think of the prodigal son when he returns, thinking, well, maybe my father will just let me be a servant there, because being a servant be way better than this life that we're living. And the father greets him with open arms. And I really believe that this is an example of that, of God saying, this seventh foundation is symbolic of the arms of gold set in chrysolite. So if we go back to Revelation 21:19. The foundation of the wall of the city were adorned with all kinds of precious stones. The first foundation of jasper, the second sapphire, the third chalcedony, the fourth emerald, the fifth sardonyx, the sixth sardius, the seventh chrysolite. And as we look at that place that God had made for us, I think this is just a reminder that it is about the love of God. Literally, it is about His arms are open and welcome to you. Always have been and always will be. So I hope these videos are helping. Any thoughts or insight on any of that, definitely put it below. If you like this video, click like and subscribe. Feel called to support this channel with Patreon. That link is also below. But the most important part of this channel is we take prayer requests. So please don't ever hesitate to send that in. Thank you for watching this episode of God, Family, and Guns. And as always, love God, love your family, and love guns.